Hi folks, in this episode we're going to be talking about Wanna Be Startin Somethin by Michael Jackson from Thriller, my favorite song from Thriller, my favorite song by Michael Jackson, my favorite song from the 80s generally, maybe my favorite song, period. Do I have a favorite song? I don't have a favorite song, but this one is one of the big ones.
So you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. I said you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. But you hard to get over, you're too low to get under, you're stuck in the middle, and the pain is under. But you hard to get over, you're too low to get under, you're stuck in the middle, and the pain is under.
It's my favorite Michael Jackson song in part because it is so freaking weird. I mean, Michael Jackson was an extraordinarily weird human being, to put it mildly. You can always tell which songs on the album were written by him and not by Quincy Jones or the guys from Toto or Rod Temperton or whoever, because his songs are weird, both musically and lyrically. This is the weirdest one, but also the coolest one. One night, a bunch of years ago, I was walking around Brooklyn, and there was a guy who lived in my neighborhood who would ride around on his giant motorcycle, which was all decked out with LED lights, with big speakers, and he would just be like bumping classic funk, soul, disco, that kind of thing. And in Brooklyn, in general, you get to hear other people's music, whether you want to or not, but very often this is a good thing because people around here have really good taste. So when I was out walking around, this guy rode past me and he was playing what I thought at first was a crazy remix of Wanna Be Startin Somethin. The tempo was a little slower and it was this deep voice doing what I thought was the mama say, mamacoosa part. And that turns out not to have been a remix of Wanna Be Startin Somethin at all. It turns out to be the song that Michael Jackson got that part from. So that made me want to look into the writing of the song and where that chant came from in the first place. We'll talk about the origins of that chant in a bit, but first I want to talk about the rest of the song. The song begins with this groove. This groove is wild. It is very syncopated and groovy and cool. The main beat is being played on a Linn drum. It's like a classic 80s drum machine. And here I've recreated it. It's built of a couple of different layers. First, there's this kabasa. There are some closed hi-hats. There is a snare drum. And there's a kick drum. By far the most complicated and weird part of this pattern is the kick drum, which if you listen to by itself quickly becomes totally disorienting. Like, where the heck is one? The reason it's so hard to figure out where the downbeat is because the kick drum is not playing on it, and that is a violation of the most fundamental rule of drum programming and drumming in any kind of Anglo-American popular music of the past 100+ years. Whatever else is happening in your drum pattern, the kick drum has to be on the downbeat. It just has to. And in this song, it's not. And I cannot think of any other popular mainstream songs by anybody for which this is true. To give you an idea of how weird this is, we need to know a little something about syncopation. So syncopation is just the unexpected accenting of weak subdivisions of the bar. And stronger and weaker subdivisions are a mathematical phenomenon. So the more times you have to subdivide the measure to get to a specific subdivision, the weaker it is. So by definition, the strongest metrical location in a bar of 4/4 time is the downbeat. What I've done here is programmed a simplified Lindrum beat. And I'm going to use the clap to highlight different locations in the meter. So first, here's a clap on the downbeat, beat 1, the strongest metrical position in the bar by definition. The next strongest metrical location is beat 3, halfway through the bar. So we're dividing the bar in half. There is nothing remotely interesting about accents on beats 1 and 3. Now, if we divide the bar in half again, we get beats 2 and 4, the back beats. In Western classical music, beats 2 and 4 are considered to be weak, and accenting them is technically a form of syncopation. However, in Black American popular and dance music, accenting 2 and 4 is so expected that it doesn't even feel like a syncopation at this point. Now, if we divide the bar in half again, we get the 8th note offbeats. So if you're counting 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, the 8th note offbeats are the ands. And accenting the ands does feel like syncopation. It does feel like a surprise. Now we can divide those subdivisions in half to get the 16th note offbeats. So if we're counting 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and a 4 E and a, the 16th note offbeats are the E and the and accenting those is intense. Now it sounds bad to accent all of the E's and U's. What you want to do is just accent some of them and to group your accents in a surprising way, like so. So what we just heard on the clap, that is the kick drum in Wanna Be Startin' Something. And that is a very syncopated kick drum pattern, especially with no kick drum on beat 1, the strongest beat, the place where you absolutely have to have a kick drum if you want your beat to be at all conventional. And then this bass line follows the rhythm of the kick drum very closely. The bass line only uses 3 different notes. The notes are B, D, and E. And the first note is D. Typically, the first note in a bass line is the tonic, but not in this song. In this song, it's starting on the flat 7th. We're actually in the key of E. E something. And so it's got a flat 7th, so it's either going to be E mixolydian or E minor or E Dorian. Could be any of those. Once the other instruments come in, then it turns out that we are in E mixolydian. E mixolydian is like E major. except E major has D sharp and E mixolydian has D natural. And pretty much every pitch in the song is going to be from within E mixolydian mode. There's one additional note that shows up, and that is G, the flat third. It's a chromatic passing tone in between the second and third degrees of E mixolydian. Like the guitar, as it goes up, goes past this chromatic passing tone, and the vocal uses it occasionally. But yeah, otherwise we're pretty much just in E mixo. There are only 2 chords in the entire song. They are D and E, the flat 7 and the 1 chords in E mixolydian. And it's mildly weird that we're starting on D. We're not starting on the tonic chord. We're starting on the flat 7 chord. But because it's so repetitive, you very quickly just settle into, okay, fine, no big deal. Then we get to the chorus, what I'm calling the chorus.
I said you wanna be starting something. You got to be starting something. I said you wanna be starting something. You got to be starting something. But you're hard to get over. You're too low to get under. You're stuck in the middle. And the pain is tender. But you're hard to get over. You're too low to get under. You're stuck in the middle. And the pain is tender.
That also follows the rhythm of the kick drum and the bass line very, very closely, although it uses different pitches. And it kind of feels like a playground chant, right? I mean, it's not a playground chant. It's something that Michael just made up, but it has that kind of cadence to it. And then too high to get over, too low to get under, you're stuck in the middle, and the pain is thunder. That's bleak. That seems like... I mean, the whole thing has kind of a bleak tone to it. Yeah, I want to be starting something. You want to be starting something. Like you want to start a fight. Yeah, it's confrontational. And then whatever it is, it's too high to get over, too low to get under. You're stuck in the middle, and the pain. So I guess the it is pain, and the pain is thunder. Like it's so loud and overwhelming that it's thunder. Now, back in the 80s, when this came out, I had absolutely no way of knowing what the heck he was talking about. I now know that Michael wrote this song for his sister LaToya, and she recorded it and performed it, and her version is nothing special, so we won't listen to it. But the idea was she would be singing the song, and it would be addressed to the wives of her brothers, who I guess she and Michael both considered to be troublemaking gold diggers. And so this whole song is Michael in the character of his sister LaToya angrily confronting the gold-digging wives of her brothers. Okay, but if you don't have all of that context, then it just seems like Michael is very angry at somebody or everybody for some reason. And then we get the first verse.
I took my baby to the doctor with a fever, but nothing he found. By the time it's in the street, they said she had a breakdown. Someone's always trying to start my baby crying. Talking, stealing, lying, saying you just want to be starting something.
I took my baby to the doctor with a fever, but nothing he found. By the time this hit the street, they said she had a breakdown. Does he mean like literal baby, like my infant child, or my baby as in my lover? It's never clear, yeah. Well, it becomes somewhat more clear later in the song when he says, if you can't feed your baby, then don't have a baby. So I guess he does actually mean your literal infant. So there's a bunch more verses and choruses, and then we get to this bridge, and the bridge is by far the weirdest thing in the song, and probably the weirdest thing in any Michael Jackson song. It's a little bit difficult to make out what he's singing, but what he's singing is, you're a vegetable, you're a vegetable, you're on a buffet, you're a vegetable, they eat off of you, you're a vegetable, they, whoever they are, hate you, you're just a buffet that they eat off of, you're a vegetable. That's a very strange thing to say, yeah? And then after the bridge, he starts talking about Billie Jean.
Billie Jean is always talking when nobody else is talking. Telling lies and rubbing shoulders, so they call her mouth promoter. Someone's always trying
And that's not explained. I mean, I guess Billie Jean is some girl who's making a paternity claim, I guess, trying to, get money out of the Jackson family. And all the way through, like, the lyrics are just so bleak. There's hustling and stealing and lying. The baby is slowly dying. That is a lot of anger, regret, and paranoia for what is supposedly a dance floor filling banger. But then we get to the end, and suddenly the mood changes and becomes very uplifting and inspirational.
Keep your head high and scream out to the world. I know I am someone, and let the truth unfurl. No one can hurt you now because you know it's true. Yes, I believe in me, so you believe in you. Help me sing it.
So suddenly lift your head up high and scream out to the world. I know I am someone, and let the truth unfurl. No one can hurt you now because you know what's true. Yes, I believe in me, so you believe in you. Okay, that's abruptly different from everything else that's happened in the song. Certainly an abrupt shift from the baby has a fever and is having a breakdown. Your tongue is a razor. You're treacherous, cunning, and declining. But now all of a sudden, lift your head up high and scream out to the world, I know I am someone. Now it seems like Michael is talking more to himself. It's just completely mysterious. And then we have the chant, the famous chant. We all thought, growing up in the 80s, that the chant was just vaguely African-sounding nonsense. Or maybe it had some secret meaning that we weren't privy to, or maybe it was in Swahili or some other African language. But no, it really just is nonsense. But it's not completely meaningless. It is a quote of a song by Manu Dibango called Soul Makossa. And that is what I heard when I was out walking around Brooklyn and at first thought I was hearing a weird remix of Wanna Be Startin Somethin. Soul Makossa is a song by this Cameroonian saxophonist and singer Manu Dibango. He recorded it in 1972, and it was a B-side for a single that he recorded called, I'm going to pronounce this wrong, Mouvement Ewondo, I guess? Movement Ewondo. That song is a praise song for the Cameroonian football team, football meaning soccer, for those of you who are Americans listening to this. And so anyway, I guess they were in the 1972 Tropics Cup, and so Manu Dibango wrote them this praise song. It was called like a hymn. And then he needed a B-side for the single. In his autobiography, he tells the story of writing the song. On one side of the 45, I recorded the hymn. On the other, I recorded Soul Makossa, written using a traditional Makossa rhythm with a little soul thrown in. In my Douala neighborhood at my parents' house, I rehearsed this second piece. The house had no air conditioning and the windows were wide open. All the kids flocked around. Hearing me rehearse, they fell over laughing. Unbelievable. How on earth had I concocted that mishmash? Poor Makossa really took a blow. My father was astonished. Can't you pronounce Makossa like everyone else? You stutter, mamako, mamasa. You think they're going to accept that in Yaoundé? The Cup organizing committee reacted the same way. The march on side one they found impeccable, but the other side, really, Manu has gone nuts. What possesses him to stutter like that? Mamako, mamasa, makossa. He's just scat singing playfully around with the word Makossa, which was a dance style, a Cameroonian dance style. Makossa is a Douala word meaning I dance. And the word Makossa derives from the Douala word kosa, which means to peel a fruit or vegetable. And so I guess the idea is that the twisting and shaking motion of peeling a fruit or vegetable inspired the twisting and shaking motion of the dance Makossa. And so Manu Dibango is just playing around with the word Makossa the way that a disco group would go like boogie, oogie, oogie. The New York DJ and party promoter David Mancuso heard Soul Makossa, and he started playing it at his loft parties, and he had it in heavy rotation, and the song became this like underground dance hit. WBLS started playing it on the air. There were not too many copies of it available in New York or in the US, and they got snapped up by other DJs pretty quickly. And so a bunch of bands recorded their own cover versions of the song. Baba Olatunji recorded one, the Lafayette Afro Rock Band recorded one. And finally, in 1973, Atlantic Records released Manu Dibango's original version on one of their sublabels, and it even made it into the Billboard Top 40. At this point, I guess Quincy Jones heard the song and played it for Michael, and Michael really liked it and thought he would interpolate it into his own song. And Michael got in a lot of trouble. Manu Dibango sued him, and he received an out-of-court settlement of 1 million French francs, which that's like $400,000 in 1983 dollars. And you can see why Manu Dibango was upset. I mean, the similarity is pretty clear, but it's not 100% stolen. I mean, Michael does the melody quite differently and the harmony quite differently. So Manu Dibango is just chanting on one note, the note G. Michael is singing on two notes, alternating back and forth the notes F sharp and E, 2 and 1 and E mixolydian, and then it's harmonized in thirds. The rhythm of it is a little bit different. And by the way, Michael seems like he also got this drum machine pattern from Soul Makossa. It's not exactly the same, but they have a generally similar vibe. Manu Dibango had a long and illustrious recording career, quite independently of anything having to do with Soul Makossa. I really recommend his 1985 album, Electric Africa. Here's the song of that name. It's got Herbie Hancock playing keyboards on it. It's a banger.
que bunyabo, mulatako. Mawana Muse, O Africa. Ndolondeje, Niburu.
Michael actually wrote the song in 1979 during the time when he was working on material for Off the Wall. And I guess the original idea was maybe to include it on Off the Wall. But I guess the thinking was save it for the next album. But you can hear Michael's demo recording that he recorded at home with his siblings playing whatever instruments are on there. He programmed the drum machine part himself. And you can hear how complete the arrangement is on his demo.
So you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. So you wanna be starting something, you got to be starting something. But you're hard to get over, yeah. But you love to get under, yeah. Stuck in the middle, yeah. The pain is thunder, yeah. Hard to get over, yeah. But you love to get under, yeah. You're stuck in the middle, yeah. The pain is thunder.
It's missing some of the percussion and the horn and guitar parts, but most of the song is really basically there. But then you can hear he doesn't quite have the verses in place. So, for example, for the first verse, it's took my mama to the doctor rather than took my baby to the doctor.
I took my mama to the doctor. It's even seems doctor. I know down the case. Sit down and let me sipping. Dumb one's always trying to stop my baby crying. Talking, stealing, lying. Saying you just want to be starting something. So you wanna be starting something. You got to be starting something.
There's some intriguing beatboxing on there. But so, yeah, it's always interesting to think about on Thriller and Off the Wall and Bad, how much of this music is Michael's imagination and how much of it is Quincy Jones's imagination, how much of it is, you know, these various session musicians, these incredible session musicians who worked on it. And so in this case, you can hear, okay, well, the song is pretty much all Michael. What Quincy Jones added was the horn arrangement, and the horn arrangement is not nothing. I mean, the horn arrangement is incredible, but yeah, it's more kind of decorative and less structural. Both Soul Makossa and Wanna Be Startin Somethin have been quoted and sampled by approximately everybody. I am going to take you through a few usages that I think are especially interesting or are just from songs that I like. From 1996, here's Cowboys by the Fugees.
I can take your sunshine, piss in your wine, steal your concubine, walk away with your gold mine.
So ooh, achika, mama say, mama sa, mama mamacoosa.
Off the sheriff, I shot John Wayne. Push him off the runaway train in the movie Shane. Yeah, me and that kid, what's his name?
That would be me, young Z from No Brain. Smoking pure from that Whole Food store, while my horse slap cops like Zaza.
From 1997, here is Gettin' Jiggy With It by Will Smith.
Watch your step, you might fall trying to do what I did. Mama, I'ma come close side in the middle of the club with the rubber dub. No love for the haters. Mad cause I got floor seats at the Lakers. See me on the 50-yard line with the Raiders. Met Ali, he told me I'm the greatest. I got the fever for the flavor of a crowd pleaser. DJ play another from the Prince of this, your highness. Only bad chicks riding my whip. South to the west, to the east, to the north. Bump my hips and watch them go off. And yes, sure. You don't stop in the winter order. I makes it high.
From 1998, here's Lord Tariq and Peter Gunz featuring Chauncey Black with Startin Somethin.
Nothing but a blast from the past. When I kick gas, letting cats know my only mission's getting cash fast.
Then I ask the question, when this hits the fan, do you go and see the Lord of our confession?
And I'll be moving, grooving, and showing and proving, letting niggas know what I'll be doing. Frontin' on Peter, we'll get you moving.
I said these cowards wanna kill me, but it ain't too much for y'all cats to do, but just feel me, for real, baby.
Guns gets money, yeah, and Lord gets money, yeah, and if y'all get money, yeah, then we all get money, and I'm a representative.
From 1998, here's a live version of I Go Humble by Björk.
Got to get started something. 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 Got to get started something.
From 2002, here's Go to the Floor by Missy Elliott.
Mama say, mama sigh, mama, can you do this? Talking like you bad is when you just know that it is. Every time I come out, y'all be like who that is. Be more like a Chauncey and be unfoolish. You don't really want to bring it with me. You were dollar, I sport the Fendi. My Lamborghini against your Benzie. Dirty diamonds in your ring, see mine look clean, clean. Ding, 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 da, ding, ding. I used to get so high, they called me Ming Lee.
From 2007, here's Don't Stop the Music by Rihanna.
Please don't stop the, please don't stop the, please don't stop the music. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Please don't stop the music. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Mama say, mama say, mamacoosa. Please don't stop the music. Please don't stop the music.
And finally, from 2008, here's Brooklyn Girls by Charles Hamilton.
Sweet, smoke the la la la. BK getting money no 9 to 5. Mama sing, mama sign, mama Makossa. Don't make sense, but admit it is kinda hot. BK girl down with that ride or die. So I always keep one right by my side. See, I love New York, I ain't gotta lie. So if you messing with my ladies, it's homicide. I got a friend named Shayna. She like Bill Bellamy and how to be a player. Shorty is a player, can't nobody play her. Can't nobody game her, cause she ain't a gamer. Baby girl ballin', kinda like the Lakers. If you a trader like Shaq, then see you later. Player, she do it so easy, it's kinda like a layup. She can lay up with your boy with no makeup.
And again, that list barely scratches the surface of all the quotes, samples, and interpolations. You can look them up on whosampled.com if you want. There are also some cover versions of the song out there, and I don't think any of them are all that special. I mean, as with, some of the other songs we've been talking about recently, like the sonic realization of this tune on the album, I don't know how you could possibly surpass it. I don't even know how you would recreate it. I mean, if you had like the best band in the world, it would still be hard to get across the idiosyncratic particulars of Michael's delivery, the precision of those LA first call session musicians playing the horns and the backup singers, the percussion. I mean, yeah, I don't even know how you would do it. I think this is one of these songs where the only way you could meaningfully cover it would be to just go in a very different direction. And I want to point you to a recording by Geri Allen, the great jazz pianist Geri Allen from 2013, and she recorded a solo piano arrangement of it. This is obviously many, many steps abstracted from the tune, but I really like it. I mean, she's an incredible musician and, a super creative improviser. And I think it was wise to not try to go big and full, but just like strip it all the way back down to like the most kind of rudimentary elements of the bass line and the melody, and that's it. Yeah, I really appreciate it. But yeah, I mean, I think if you want to engage creatively in the song, quoting it or sampling it or interpolating it or remixing it is probably more going to be the move. This song is a really good one for like the high point of the night at the club or in the party. And a good DJ will just take the chant and extend it. Nelson George, in his book Thriller, The Musical Life of Michael Jackson, talks about what Soul Makossa might have meant to Michael. It's significant that Wanna Be Startin Somethin is based on this quote or this interpolation or this, reference, whatever you want to call his appropriation of Soul Makossa. Because Michael didn't do that in any of his other songs, right? He doesn't have any other quotes or interpolations in his songs, at least not overt or intentional ones. And Nelson George gives a possible explanation in his book. He points out that the Jackson 5 had traveled to Senegal in 1973, and apparently the experience had a profound effect on teenage Michael. So Nelson George quotes Michael as having said, "I don't want the blacks to ever forget that this is where we come from and where our music comes from. I want us to remember." Now, Michael Jackson had a very complex relationship to his racial identity, and it is a much too big topic to even begin to engage with in this podcast episode. But it does seem like that interpolating Soul Makossa was maybe his way of connecting his own music back to its ancestral source. Could Michael have found a way to do that without stealing from Manu Dibango? Maybe, although I doubt Michael thought that he was stealing. One other significant thing from Nelson George's book is that he tells the story of a public dance party that Spike Lee threw in Prospect Park in Brooklyn to celebrate Michael's 51st birthday. It was his first birthday after he had died. And I was actually at that party along with my sister and several thousand other people. And it rained that afternoon, but it was still a super amazing time. There were all these people out there dressed as Michael or in their, Michael Jackson t-shirts, their glitter gloves. I mean, people really turned out. And the DJ Spinna, did this multi-hour long set of Michael and Jackson 5 songs. And the culmination of the party was Wanna Be Startin Somethin. And everybody in the crowd did the Makossa chant in unison. And I don't know how long this went. I mean, it felt like hours. I really just have no sense of how much time was passing. And I got to tell you, it was like a magical experience, man. Just like me and my sister and a few thousand Brooklynites of every age, race, ethnic origin, socioeconomic class, whatever, just out there doing that chant together on a field in Prospect Park. It was a good time, and I know Michael Jackson is complex and problematic, and the peace that I kind of made with myself is that he hadn't yet done anything terrible as of when Wanna Be Startin Somethin was written or recorded. So I can, feel okay about that. And I know people who just will have nothing further to do with him or his music. And I really respect that. And either I don't have the same, level of moral fiber as those people, or I just love some of these songs too much. But yeah, I really do love this song. And so I've been writing this column for Music Radar, and a lot of the research that I'm quoting in this podcast is work that I did for this Music Radar column. And in the course of writing it, my editor pointed out, you've said this about a couple of different songs, that some of these really huge, iconic, like generation spanning bangers are extremely weird and even a little bit annoying. And I ended up doing a column just playfully exploring that idea that, okay, if your song is going to be just kind of medium popular, then it probably has to be very conventional. It has to sound a lot like everything else that's popular at that moment. But if your song is going to transcend genre and still be fresh and something that's still going to fill dance floors decades after its release, then it's probably going to have to be really weird, like really, really weird. So like Wanna Be Startin' Something is not the most popular Michael Jackson song in terms of sales or spins or Spotify streams or whatever, but it is definitely the one that gets the dance floor the most lit. I mean, I guess up there with Don't Stop Till You Get Enough, and I guess Thriller, especially on Halloween, and I guess Billie Jean. But there's something about that Makossa chant and Wanna Be Startin' Something that just dissolves people's ego in a way that nothing else does. And I think it's because, it helps that the Makossa chant is completely meaningless. So Mama say, Mama sa, mamacoosa is meaningless. It's a quote of another chant, which is also meaningless, mamako, mama sa, makossa. And so it's the fact that it is a meaningless mishearing of another meaningless phrase that's so much meaninglessness. And so really all it is just this like kind of playful, pre-verbal, post-verbal, just a sound. It's just a rhythmic sound, yeah? There's no distracting symbolism or references, yeah? Billie Jean is an all-time banger, but unfortunately it does have these lyrics about this paternity dispute, and that is something that's hard to relate to. Like, Billie Jean is kind of easiest to dance to if you just sort of forget what it's about and just enjoy it as a piece of music, yeah? Thriller is incredible, but also fundamentally really silly, and like, unless it's Halloween, you kind of have to not pay too much attention to the lyrics, yeah? But so Wanna Be Startin' Something, because the lyrics are so weird and just so incomprehensible in a way that makes them more universal, and because Michael just delivers them with so much intensity and this groove is so powerful, and then you get to this ecstatic chant that sounds like something that humans could have been chanting around a fire 50,000 years ago just as easily as they could be chanting it in the club right now as I am speaking. Yeah, I feel like it's just so huge and so kind of transcendent of space and time. And I know everybody loves Michael Jackson in spite of everything, but in addition to enjoying him, I think we got to respect him. This ability to reach people very remote from him in time and space and socioeconomic background and race and education and religion and all of these things, and just reach right into the brainstem with these grooves and these chants and these sounds. There's not a lot of other human artists in history who have ever managed something on that scale, and I think we should feel humble in the face of it. But then you also don't need to know anything about anything to enjoy this song. I mean, my kids understood it when they were toddlers, and at every different age enjoy hearing it whenever it comes on. Yeah, that's a truly remarkable thing. Thank you very much for listening.
Let me sing it.